Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Integrated CANS TA practice call. We are going to get started in just a minute. We shall let folks sign in. So we'll be back in just 1 minute.
Is it plugged in? Oh, think it. Is one of them plugged into your laptop?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the bi-weekly CANS TA call. We're going to start with a disclaimer to say if you are not speaking, to please self-mute your phone as we continue to try to work through minor technical difficulties. We're trying different approaches each meeting to become more efficient and help reduce the outside noise and static noises. So if you could please self-mute your phones if you're not speaking. So again, we're going to try a new approach again today. If you see on the agenda, we're going to start by addressing some reoccurring CANS questions we've been receiving from prior calls and questions we receive in our inbox. We'll start by doing introductions around the room, and then we'll go ahead and tackle those questions one at a time. So my name is Jeffrey Koff. I'm with the Integrated Services Unit with CDSS.
Good afternoon. This is Rebecca Buckmiller, the Integrated Services Unit.
Hello, this is Janine Lasore, also with the Integrated Services Unit here at CDSS.
Good afternoon. This is Leslie Beltran, also with Integrated Services Unit, CDSS.
Law Quinn, CWDA.
Great. And we have some other folks calling in, and they will unmute them when the time comes and they can introduce themselves. But we'll go ahead and get started with addressing the questions. We're going to pass it off to Janine and Leslie. They're going to tackle the questions.
Yes, hello. Our first question today is, where can I find the CANS curriculum? Well, the CANS curriculum can be found on the Cal SWEC website, or you can follow our CFT website and go to the CANS link. Currently, on the website, there's a one-day introduction training curriculum, and that is available. The case planning and supervisors training are still being completed with input from the CFT CANS implementation work, and we hope to have that completed sometime at the beginning of next year. Next question is CANS training mandatory for all child welfare staff? The training is not mandatory for all child welfare staff, but it is strongly encouraged. Anyone who is completing the CANS, though, must be trained and certified. And managers and supervisors are strongly encouraged to take the supervisor training. And if the official CANS score is a child welfare worker, then the supervisor also must be trained.
Okay. Thanks, Janine. This is Rebecca. Question number 3, documenting CAN's refusal to participate. So really what we want to talk about there is in case practice is the refusal to participate. I'm taking into some of the questions we've had of non-minor dependents, specifically refusing to participate, maybe caregivers or biological family members. And it's really important during the case management phase that you document the conversations that you have with each of those participants and understand the underlying factors in the refusal to participate. The documentation should be within the case notes in the case file, as well as in the notes section of CWS-CMS where you record the CFT minutes. We also strongly encourage for refusal to participate in one iteration of CANS, it should be subsequently family members should be reapproached, maybe with a family partner, youth peer mentor, or someone else to really sit down with the family and explain the purpose of CANS and guide them through the process to re-engage them in completion. Number 4. Whose responsibility is it to invite CFT team members? Well, the case carrying social worker has access to the case file and many of the family finding documents that are located within that. But of course, the biological family and the youth themselves and anyone else with a vested interest may put forth names or others who may be a vital asset to the CFT team. We want to always remember to invite our community-based partners, such as our CASA, our youth peer mentors, our family partners, and siblings that are of age and can be appropriately part of the CFT team. It's really an open process, and the family should always have the right to So now we can maybe move forward to Sinultra. Are you on the line?
Hi, this is Julie Clemens from CARES. I'm the CAN Service Manager. I also have Stephanie Escalante with me from the implementation team.
Okay, thank you. We're going to pull up a couple of slide shots for the next questions are related to the CARES. CANS 1.0 versus 2.0, and I'll let you guys take it from here. Can you see the screen there?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Stephanie Escalante, and I'm with the implementation team here on the CARES project. So I'm just going to go over this slide, really, not heavily detailed, but the difference between CARES 1.0 and CARES 2.0, and then I'll talk briefly about the upcoming 2.1 and 2.2. So CARES 1.0 is really the introduction of these three features you see there: snapshot, facility search, and identity management. So snapshot has to do with your client information, your child welfare, referral and history information. Facility search has to do with getting in and searching for facilities or homes in the CARES application, and this information comes from your current CMS system, LIS, and FAS. So it combines all three of those resources into one-stop shop, really, to allow you to search for those facilities, get in, drill in, see complaint history information, children that are currently in the home, how many beds are available, etc. And then identity management is twofold. One is everyone has to be able to log into the system through a secure way. And so for all users going into CARES, logging in, you will, when you go live and you access the CARES system, you will log in with your email address, reset a temporary password to a permanent one, and then you will log in on that's day 1. Day 2, when you log in, you will be prompted for what we call a multi-factor authentication code. And that code will automatically be sent to you through email. and you will go ahead and enter that. So once you enter your user ID and your password, the code automatically is sent, and you're prompted to go to an account verification screen where you'll enter that code as a secondary secure level, and then you will get into the CARES system. The second part of the identity management component is your county admins. Anyone who currently manages all of your CMS users in the CMS system for permissions and roles, et cetera, those are your admins that will need to also be able to do that same process in CARES. And so that county admin portal, we're calling it actually a managed user portal, where they can go in and they can manage your CARES users who are actually also CMS users. So that's CARES 1.0. And that was initially released back early to a small group of users in early September, and then a larger subset from those same counties in October. And then we have CARES 2.0, which brings in a fourth feature, which is CANS, your assessment tool that they were talking about just a few minutes ago, answering some questions on. It also brings in updates to the snapshot and identity management features. So from the snapshot perspective, it removes what we call fuzzy search, and so that allowed for enhanced performance in that tool. And additionally, it added some other features such as identifying CSEC for certain person records, not in the search results themselves, but once you get into the history and the demographic information of those clients that you're searching for. And additionally, it calls out if there are probation youth as part of that family unit that you're searching for. From an identity management perspective, it added some additional features on the manage user side for the admins, and it allowed them the ability to filter a user list by office. In addition, those admins can control and send out the registration email. One of the things that happens with users when you go live initially is that email is only good for 7 days and expires after that. And it's not 7 working days, it's 7 calendar days. And so it allows your admins to reset and send that email to someone, perhaps if they were out on leave or on vacation, and so it allows them to do that. And then in addition to that, it also provides information in regards to when users last logged into the CARES application. So those are the updates, and then again, the CANS feature is introduced, which allows users to add and edit child information in CANS, to add, edit, and print CANS assessments once they're completed, and then also allows users to view a historical list of those CANS assessments for that child specifically. This is a new feature in the system. It's not in your current CMS system, and so this is like the starting point of building on that assessment tool in CANS. Any questions so far? Okay, so then what's coming in the near future and into next year, and we don't have specific dates yet, and when we do, we announce those as a project to everybody, and everyone gets that information at the same time. We have CARES 2.1, which brings in additional updates to the identity management feature. And in this, as I mentioned in 2.0, identity management adds that filter by office. Well, now what it does is it adds a layer of, I would say, like admin security level. So you can have a county admin, a state admin, and an office admin role. So it adds that level. So you can have someone who just manages folks in your local office. Then you can have someone who manages at a county level and then at a state level. So it just gives those extra layers of admin security, depending on that user's role. And so they can do that. Also, it indicates when a user meets password requirements when setting the new password. So what that does, when you go in and need to set your password, it tells you what that password needs to contain, whether it's special characters, alpha, combination of alpha and numbers, etc. So that information is there. And then the other nice thing about it is before when you log in, it doesn't really tell you, oh, you've already attempted this a number of times. So now users will be prompted and they will get 3 attempts to enter that multi-factor authentication code before they get pushed back to the login screen. So that's the other feature. And like I said, we don't have exact dates, but there's a planned release for next month, 2018. And then CARES 2.2 enhances the CANS assessment tool in that functionality, that feature in the CARES application. So what this does is it allows users to search for and use child information from CWCMS. It really enhances the usability. It makes it a little bit easier and cleaner. Not that the current CANS feature that's coming out isn't, but it's just right now it'll be a digital version of what you do with your paper assessment at this point. It also allows for you to make a lot of changes to that CANS assessment. As most of you know, I mean, I'm not up to date on the business side. I understand it, but I'm not doing it day in and day out. But there are domains where you have to answer specific questions. So within those domains, it breaks down that information, gives you what each domain and each item within those domains means, and allows you to rate them accordingly based on that team of folks that get together to discuss that child and those child's needs. There's also a role-based user dashboard for supervisors, caseworkers, caring users that carry caseloads, and users without case assignments. So really what it does is it provides you this dashboard based on your security. If you're a supervisor, you can see those users that you're assigned to along with their CANS assessments that they have. Oops, okay, you jumped the screen. Can you go back one real quick?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Got that. Okay.
Okay. The other nice feature, the last one I'll just speak really quick, is the redaction. At this point, if you were to utilize in CARES 2.0 the assessment, you would have to actually manually redact that information. But with 2.2, it will automatically redact that information for you. And that has to do, I think, with substance abuse information that you don't want released to anyone. You want that protected so that it does that. Any questions? Okay.
Oh, we'll follow back for those that have typed in questions, and we'll forward them on to OSI for evaluation and response in order to get through, because we only have an hour today. How does that sound?
Got it.
Okay, if we could just maybe spend a couple of minutes on the implementation quickly, and then we can move forward.
Yeah, this won't take too long. So really, even though we've talked about those 4 different releases, 2 of them coming in the near future, we've got our statewide rollout that continues as planned. Back on October 31st, we released CARES 2.0 statewide to our CANS core constituent representatives. And then we have 6 waves coming with what we call phase 3. Those waves have changed. The dates still are intact and anchored down. And these are the counties, for instance, I'll just use wave 1. We have going live December 3rd with CARES 2.0. We have 7 counties going live at that point in time. And then you'll see each wave, as far as wave 1, 2, and 3, are within a week of each other. And then there's a break because of the Christmas holiday and New Year's. And then wave 4, 5, and 6 start up on January 7th. And then each week thereafter roll out. These are all broken down, as you can see, number of counties per wave, and then how many CWS and probation offices that will be going live throughout each wave. And then at the very end, you'll notice at the bottom where it says plus 8 CARES 1.0 core counties. Those core counties went live back in September and mid-October, and so they don't have the CANS feature. So they are added on to the last release in wave 6 to receive that CANS function, that CANS feature, along with those other 18 counties that are going live on January 22nd.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for that information, and the visuals are very helpful as well. Okay, moving on, we have a question for Chapin Hall. April, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, fantastic.
Hey.
So we have a couple questions for you today, but the primary one is, what is TCOM?
Good question. TCOM stands for Transformational Collaborative Outcomes Management. It's an outcomes management approach for human service systems that actually reinforces collaboration and consensus building as we understand children and families' stories, and we try to figure out areas to support them. And it is, we teach TCOM as part of teaching the CANs to some degree. A lot of what TCOM is overlaps with the integrated core practice model, for example, but TCOM does highlight the outcomes management aspect of things, and that we have to create goals that are done collaboratively with kids and families so that they're engaged in the process and the goals make sense to them and that they're motivated to work towards those goals. So that's what TCOM is. It's an outcomes management approach.
And this is Kim Suderman from CBHDA, a CBHDA consultant. I just want to clarify that there is also an acronym that mental health folks use called TCON, which is temporary conservatorship. So
that's a good one, Kim.
Yeah. So as folks chat or talk in a CFT or in any setting where multiple people are included, probably just want to make sure folks know exactly which thing you're talking about, because when you say that real fast, you can't tell whether it's an M or an N.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, you know, we just want to make sure people know what they're talking about.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Kim. You know, TCOM is rarely referred to within a CFT. I mean, people talk about collaborating and, you know, being clear and being explicit and building consensus. So it's more the process gets played out than talking about the actual what it is. So it gets talked a lot in training for sure. So it's good to know that there is another acronym that could be confusing to people. So I appreciate that.
Thanks.
So April, this is Rebecca. We have a request for you to just spell out what TCOM is again, and if you don't mind adding where folks can find more information, the best place for them to find information maybe online about it.
Oh, sure. So it's Transformational Collaborative Outcomes Management. I'll try to send some information that can be put. The easiest place to go to is we have a blog. It's TCOM Conversations, plural. So it's tcomconversations.org. And if you go onto that site and you go into the search feature and you put TCOM, there should be an article, a little article that John wrote about TCOM in there, TCOM.
Okay, great. And we can
Sure.
we can send that out to folks that are online as well through the chat feature.
Perfect.
Okay. So next question, have Leslie.
Yeah, the next question, are we required to provide a copy of the CANs to all CFT members? And I just want to direct everybody again to the ACO 1881. And as April noted, to be able to achieve the primary goal of acknowledging the family voice, empowerment, and consensus building, a copy of the CANs must be provided to the CFT members for use during the CFT meeting. So that would be encouraged.
Okay, we have to make sure that all information related to that is confidential is redacted as well, and the conversation really stems around informing where the areas of need are, and of course always building on strengths. Locke, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, and April, if you could also expand on this particular area, it's particularly important that as the information or before the information is shared, that the youth know about it, because they may actually be reticent about talking about certain items, etc. So it's really a conversation that has to be had as a part of what's going to happen during the CFT as well, in terms of it is an iterative process as well. So just the fact that people have a copy of the CANs doesn't necessarily mean that it is useful. It's more the conversation piece and using the CAN scoring sheet as a reference item rather than anything else.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, April.
I totally agree with Locke and appreciate how succinct he was in saying that. I think particularly in the first CFT meeting when it's the first time the family and the young person, they're going to be talking about the CANs, that be discussed with them ahead of time so that they're very aware of why it's being discussed, how it's going to be brought up, and those sensitive items, and that could vary from family to family. They're prepared to talk about it, or they can say, I don't want to talk about it, here's why, and that there's a negotiation that happens around that so that they can engage in that process.
And this is Kim Suderman. I just want to add that just as mental health plans conduct the CANs, just again, releases have to be addressed, release of information for mental health plans to be able to discuss more in detail. So we just need to make sure that, again, just that same discussion from the mental health perspective, depending on who conducted the CANs, with information to be that can be shared.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point, Kim. Okay, this is Rebecca, and I just want to add also, when there's uncomfortable conversations in a context of a meeting like that, it's always good to pre-plan support persons that are closest to the youth and to the family member to sit near them during the meeting, and also be prepared to provide that real-time support during the meeting in order to encourage the sharing and the collaboration. Okay, we have one more question. I think Denise going to take the lead, and April and anyone else feel free to chime in as well.
Okay. What is the CANs requirement for children under age 6? So the CDSS has adopted the CANs Early Childhood as the state-approved child welfare assessment tool from ages birth to 5. And as we know, for children over 6, we'll be using the California Integrated Practice CANs. April, do you want to expand on that?
Sorry, I almost just got hit by a truck, so I kind of didn't hear anything you said.
Oh, no. Oh, well, be careful.
And I'm parked too, so it was kind of annoying. So my understanding is for kids in child welfare, the early childhood module must be completed for them as much as possible. And if you were to look at that module, obviously a lot of it is either observing a child or talking to caregivers or folks who have been caring for a child because they can't report a lot of the stuff that's on there.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then is DHCS there to comment from the mental health plan perspective?
Say again?
I'm not sure if Chuck, are you on the line? I think they may not have been able to join today.
Okay, so we need to make clear for mental health plans, the requirement is not to do CANs for the children under 6. So I'm not sure who asked the question, whether that was a mental health person or a child welfare person asking the question, but mental health plans for their performance outcome measures do not do the CANs for EPSDT beneficiaries. However, if mental health plans are conducting the CANs for child welfare, then they may be doing that. So I just want to make sure we clarify. I'm not sure what the person is actually.
Okay, thank you for that distinction, Kim. So yeah, we'll make notation of that as well for in future when if that question comes up again, identifying who the ask is. Ready to move forward? Okay, to keep us moving forward on time today, we want to make sure we have enough time for everything on the agenda. There's been a lot of discussion around the CANS paper solution. As we have Kate Cordell from the Mental Health Data Alliance presenting today. Kate, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful. Does she have control? Okay, we'll let you take it from here.
All right, and we also have Ken Connect here to provide answers to any other more technical aspects.
Great. Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Let me see if I can. Do I have access? I don't seem to be able to. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. So folks may have seen the flyer that went out regarding the CANS scan solution. And the idea here is that this is not a requirement, but an option to make folks' lives easier if it works out for you. And that is, there's going to be a lot of paper forms being created of the CANS, and instead of key entry, there are options on the market for scanning those papers into your regular copy machine and converting that information to electronic data without having to key enter the information. So it's just an option, and we'll discuss how it works here today, but it's an option available that's not required. If it would help you in your office, if you don't already have the ability to scan in assessments and have them convert to electronic information, then this is a piece of software that would help you do that. And it's not limited to just the CANs. Actually, any assessment could be scanned in into the software and convert to electronic format. So it could reduce your amount of key entry across all the types of information or assessments you're completing. And it works with a regular copy scan machine. No extra equipment is necessary. And we'll go through how exactly that works. But the idea would be for data, if you were to use this solution, data would flow like this. You would have a application locally somewhere on your network drive that would connect to any of your printers in your office that already exist right now, just like your computer would. And then you would scan that piece of paper or probably that stack of CANS assessments into your copy scanner machine, your regular printer scanner machine. That would upload to the software, convert it to a CSV file, and then that CSV file is available to batch upload into your electronic health record, share it with mental health, upload it to CARES eventually when it has that functionality, and so it'll convert that data into electronic format for you. Okay, so the software that we found was called Remark. It is software available that you can look up online, Remark Software, and it allows you to scan in, like I said, any type of assessment. They have like satisfaction surveys that they show examples of. It's any type of assessment. And so the CANS is currently reformatted to just look slightly differently with bubbles to fill in, and that will help allow it to scan more accurately. So this is kind of what the assessment would look like if it were Remark compatible. And so it has little bubbles, and you fill those in like you would a test, but you actually don't have to fill in the whole circle. You just mark any circle, and we'll show you an example of that. The idea would be you would print a CANS form that had the right formatting for Remark, and then you would collect the information on paper if this is how you're going to do it in the field. And then you would bring that stack of paper back and put it into your scan copy machine, just the regular one you might have there in the office already. This is an example of a big one that often does scanning in larger office, but there's a lot of tabletop versions as well that work just fine. So you would either submit the paper to a data entry staff, and that staff would take that stack of papers and put them into the scanner printer, or you might scan them one at a time and then put them somewhere on the network drive for the data entry staff to bring into the Remark software. So you can either have your staff each scan in their own forms and deliver it electronically, or you can hand paper and have one person scan them all in. Once the forms are scanned, They are loaded into the application, which is the Remark Software, and the data entry staff will review the data, and it has a very nice screen, which we'll show you in just a minute, on how to review the data to make sure that there are no errors, make any corrections, and if there's anything written on the forms that needs to be converted to text, they can either then type that in from within the software or do a voice to text of the information. And if your form contains an identifier, it can also link and bring in client information from a data set of stored name, gender, birth date, and so forth. So it can link together the information from maybe a stored data set of clients with your CANS data. So let me just go through and show you what that looks like. So if you were going to hot scan the documents, and that means you have a stack of papers, you're the data entry clerk, nobody's scanned them in already, you have just the paper, you're going to hot scan those in, so you're going to open up the software, you're going to go put those papers on your printer, scanner machine, you're going to sit down with the software and say, okay, scan those in. It will grab those, it will communicate with that printer scanner, and it'll say, okay, bring those documents in, it'll scan them in. And then alternatively, if those documents are already scanned at another time, or maybe individual staff scan them and put them somewhere in the network, you would open up the software and say, okay, here's where all of my scanned documents are. You point to the folder, and it will bring in those scanned documents from PDF or however the scanner had stored them, TIFF, PNG, so forth. So once it brings the data into the software, what it will do is identify any of those circles where maybe it couldn't find an entry, or it wasn't sure what the entry was for staff to review. So in this example, anywhere I click, so each row represents an entire CANS. And so if I look on that row, and if I click anywhere in the row, it'll bring up the exact place from that CANS document that it was interpreting the data. So as you can see, it's selecting a row where it says it had interpreted a 4, and then it brings up the image of the document and says, oh, this is why I thought it was a 4, and it shows you where it interpreted a 4 from. If it's unsure, as I mentioned earlier, you don't need to fill in the bubble completely, just an X or anything it can recognize as a mark, and any of the bubbles will also work. And if it does not find an answer, it will highlight the cell yellow and show you that, hey, I couldn't find an answer. And if you click on that, it'll, like I said, bring right up that place where it was interpreting no answer, and you can see if there was no answer. If it finds multiple answers, it'll also highlight it green, and it'll bring that up, and you can identify which answer you think it was or neither, or go back to the staff and say, hey, you have these both filled out. It actually does can be trained to understand crossouts, so you can create rules and say, hey, this is the example of what it looks like to cross something out. So don't count this crossed out one, count the filled in one. So you can actually set some parameters around there and then train folks, hey, if you make a mistake and you cross it out, you put a big X through it, and then, you know, the one without the X is how we're going to go with it. So there could be some modification and training there to make sure that if folks aren't using pencils and didn't erase it, that you can identify which ones were the crossed out ones. And then, as we mentioned, if there is writing in the form, so as you can see below, it says Bob was a great sales guy, then it'll bring up where the writing is, and you can type that in, and you can just go through and type them all in as you go for the data entry staff, or you actually can also do a voice to text. So this is the example of typing it in, and the screen displays the information as you type it in. Or there's a button on there also to do voice to text, and as long as there's a microphone on your computer, it actually works well, much better than Siri, to read in what it's saying. And as long as it doesn't do names very well, but it can do all the words in the dictionary very well. And then lastly, it has kind of a sanity check. basic analysis, so this isn't something you would use to look at your outcomes by any means, but if you wanted to just see that not everything was identified as a 3 or there were a reasonable number of 0s, 1s, 2s, and 3s, then it does a quick data analysis at the end to show you, hey, this is how many folks answered 0, 1, 2, or 3 on each of these questions. So you can just get, if there's anything glaring there, you know you might have a data quality issue. But hopefully you've reviewed the information that was scanned in the prior screens, and then the next step is to save the data, and you can save the data into a number of different formats, or you can directly link to a SQL database. If you have an electronic health record, you can directly link to your electronic health record and push the data into your electronic health record from the back end. Most vendors will support a batch upload, and so this would allow you to batch upload this information. So you could use a file then, like I said, to submit to your electronic health record. Again, the file could be used to submit to the CDSS CWS care system for your CANS upload. And then what's important to know is that this wouldn't bypass any supervision if there was any supervision. This only bypasses the key entry. So once it would be batch uploaded to wherever that was, your electronic health record or whatnot, there would still be, it would be not in complete form, but in draft form. At that point, you still need to submit it to your supervisor if that's part of your workflow for your supervisor to review, and then have that same workflow. So it's not uploaded in pristine and it's gone right into the database. It's uploaded as a draft, then you save it in your electronic health record as the formal final document. This would also allow you to use that electronic health record, electronic data, to share with multiple departments or agencies. So you could share it with your behavioral health could share with CWS. So it's just maybe an extra way for you to begin to share data rather than have to key enter it into separate multiple systems. You now don't have to key enter it, hopefully. Create a file and you can share it to multiple systems. I think that's it, if there aren't any questions.
Okay, I think Locke's going to address a couple of things related.
Yeah, this is Locke from CWDA. Thanks, Kate, in terms of this. Just to let you know, counties, we were coordinating this, counties through your child welfare director or designee have been working with Mary and Lisa and their staff to provide information as to which offices will have this Remark software. So that's already behind the scenes. The state will work with the counties to provide the technical aspects of loading the software and whatnot. There's no current provision under this contract to buy scanners. It's not a scanner. It's not a scanner-specific item that you have to buy. It is a software similar to like a CWS CMS type application. So once that software is loaded, it gets connected to a current scanner that you may have in your offices, however that's designated. And when one of these forms are available for upload, you would go to that staff person and whatnot, put it in that scanner, and it gets uploaded into the software, and all the things that Kate had mentioned in terms of how it gets put into the system, et cetera, will be part of that upload.
Okay, great. Thank you, Locke. Thank you, Kate and Ken, very much for putting this in perspective and giving us the visuals to go along with this. Very helpful for folks. We are still in the finalization of the phases of the contract of getting this all executed, but we are moving forward as quickly as we can to get this option available to counties. Do we have any other questions related to the paper solution? No? Okay. Is San Diego on the line? It was
Shelley.
Shelley? Shelley, okay. Shelley, just an FYI, if you want to, we heard that you have a story to share about a CAN success story. We'd love to hear it, but you'll probably have to log off and log back in on with the, or at least from the phone call, and put the audio pin in order for us to be able to hear you. So while we're waiting for that, maybe we can move forward with doing our regional questions. And this, let's start. Is everyone unmuted? Yeah. Start with the southern region. Do we have any questions related to CANs or any of the presentations we heard today? Able to unmute, folks?
Everyone has really unmute themselves.
Okay, so everybody has the ability to unmute yourself and as individually on the webinar. We're training a new tactic in order to reduce the background noise problems we were having in the past. So please unmute yourself if you have questions. We can move forward. From Southern?
Hi.
Who do we have there?
And to partner with Orange County Behavioral Health.
Okay, we hear a little bit of background noise. Yeah, okay, let's see if we can hear it. Go ahead.
Hi. So we are using the CANs for clients aged 6 to 17 right now with our Children Youth program.
Okay. We lost you there. Okay. Go ahead. Huh? Is that
there I go.
Okay.
Thank you for
unmuting
unmuting
me.
Go.
Okay.
So we're using the CANs now. Data needs to be reported starting on February 1st of next year. What range of data are you wanting at that point? Is it everything that we've been collecting since launching on October 1st, or is there just for the last quarter of 2018, or is it just everything that that we've been collecting up to that point?
We just wanted to confirm that you're from the mental health side, county mental health?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Okay. So it's a question for DHCS.
DHCS. I'm not sure if Chuck was able to join from DHCS. Kim, are you still on the line? Was there a letter issued or something that gives clarification around the reporting for our mental health partners? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to take that question and get back to you. Unfortunately, DHCS wasn't able to join in for this call, but I believe we also have it in our chat as well.
Yes, I put it in the chat too. Sorry.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll forward on to our partners over there and make sure that you receive a response.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, any other questions from our southern counties?
This is Shelley. Can you hear me now?
Oh, hi, Shelley.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you. I wanted to share that we have successfully had about 20 CANS conversations in child and family team meetings, and they're going really well. We've had some examples with the facilitator where there was a 10-year-old youth who hadn't participated in the CFT for the first 30 minutes. And then as we got into the CANS conversation, the youth was very engaged. We've been laminating a blank copy of the CANS and giving it to all the participants along with a dry erase marker. And they've been like having conversations. So the youth was like, tell us what a 2 means on depression. What is a 1? And then they really been having great conversations and conjointly scoring or finishing the CANS together.
Wow, Shelley, thank you. That's I like that. I really like the laminating and sharing with that, especially for 10-year-olds, that concrete kind of way to look at things and using the numbers, I think, is really helpful. You said how many have you done so far? Did you say 30 to 40?
We're at about 20, and those
About
have been
20.
with, we're doing all of our new cases are having their cans done by the Pathways to Wellbeing experts, our social workers.
Okay.
So they interview all the collaterals and the parents and the child in person, and then they come into the conversation together and have that discussion. And it's been going well. We haven't actually had any problems. It's going so much better. We were worried.
And then it says they want brunch.
Right, okay. Well, great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's really what we hope out of this call is one of the goals of this call is to hear those stories about what's working and sharing with our counties that are a little farther along with the counties that are just implementing. And we'll definitely take that practice down and share it with others as well. Okay, so I guess, go ahead.
This is Kim Suderman. I've been on this whole time. For some reason, it wouldn't unmute for me. I got it unmuted finally. So the question before, I just heard that somebody asked a question, but I didn't hear the question itself.
Oh, okay. I think we'll repeat for you.
The question before, and Orange, I'll try to repeat that, is something to the effect that Orange was required to start using cans as of October the 1st, but the data entry wasn't a requirement until February 1st of next year. So do you happen to know if the data range would have to go back to October 1st, or is it from February 1st onwards?
Right. Okay. So yeah. Yes. The startup date for cans did not change for any of the mental health plans. The startup. So the date, there was no extension or delay for the mental health plans like there was for child welfare. So that you should have started the cans back when in October. The deadline for submission of the data from starting October 1st is February 28th. And so in the ACL, which I'll have to look up, I don't have it right in front of me, but in the ACL it says that the submission is due by February 28th for all of the mental health plans except for LA. Those mental health plans would be submitting October 1 through January 30, because you have 30 days, you have the next calendar month to get your data cleaned up and ready for submission. So you submit a month later after the month is over. So again, that first submission is October through January, the end of January, and you submit that the end of February, so February 28th. Then the end of March, you submit February's, and so on and so forth.
Great. Thank you, Kim.
Sure.
All right, do we have any other questions coming from the southern region? Okay, we will move on to the central region. Central counties. Please remember to unmute yourself if you have a question. You raising their hand? No? Okay. Northern region. Hands or questions related to presentations today from our northern partners? No? Okay. All right, we'll move along. The Bay Area.
She didn't give me
Bay region.
Hi, can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
But yeah, maybe Carmen can. I know she
Yes?
gets to call her when she's on leave.
Yeah, we can hear you a little faint,
Yeah,
but
she's doing after her surgery.
hi, this is Jeanette.
A lot of information could have been helpful for the process of it. So, okay. No worries.
We're in transition.
Hi, I'm asking about a question I put on the chat as well about the link for the software. A
link for the software. We don't have a link available yet for the software, we aren't quite ready to go live. Right now we're just in the process of executing the contract, and then once we'll be doing there'll be some training opportunities and other outreach as soon as we're ready to execute.
Right. I'm not interested in trying to download it and start using it, but it's going to take probably 3 months for my IT department to approve it. So I just want to know what the specific information on the software is so I can start getting it approved from a security standpoint at my county.
Okay. Kate, are you still on the line, and Ken? Can you speak to that?
Information about the, oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I can go ahead and send information to you about the website where the software is posted, and they have some, I'm sure, technical assistance there. In fact, I know we've spoken to their technical assistants. They're very good. So if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to the technical assistants there. But so I can send that to you, Rebecca or Jeff, and then maybe you can forward that out to folks.
Yeah, please send to Jeff, and he will forward to everyone that's registered for the webinar.
Was Yellington going to get that project?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I thought I heard her talking about it.
No, people are talking with their phones, or they need to mute their phones. So we just need to remind everyone to mute.
Yep, Kate's going back on mute if you don't have more questions. Thanks.
Okay, it was also suggested in order to help the process for counties with their IT, so that we have our IT folks send out specs to our county partners so that will help facilitate that process. So we will reach out and do that as well. Okay.
Thank you. I have one other question. I know you answered at least part of the question about documenting CAN's refusal to participate. One of the concerns I have is that there's nowhere on the CAN's tool to actually document our attempt to and the refusal to do so. So if for instance there's a measure created by the state about compliance with CANs, there won't be a way to measure that we attempted to do so in good faith, especially for our non-minor dependent participants, which is where most of the refusals are coming from.
Okay. Okay. Let me do a little research on that and see if we have some sort of a workaround that we can talk about for that. I mean, I can see documenting it on the actual CANS form as well, but we also have to talk about within the system as we move to the automated system, if there'll be somewhere to document it in there as well. So, and who was speaking again? Kim? Okay. All right, Kim. I'll work on that and then get back to you on that and see what we can come up with.
Great, thank you. And I think it's particularly problematic because a lot of our non-minors are placed out of state.
Right. Okay.
And so our engagement with them is good, but they have the right to refuse, and they exert that right.
Right. Okay.
April, are you still on the line? And I don't know if other states and other jurisdictions have run into this similar situation, how they have addressed it.
Oh, okay, April. She may have had to jump off the call, but I'll circle back with her, Kim, as well, and see if she has worked this out in any other states, and add that into the response. Okay. So, any other questions from the Bay Area region? No? Okay. I know we've had some questions around the implementation committee for the CANS and CFT. I'll let Locke maybe give just a kind of a brief overview of the purpose and the goals of the committee?
Yeah, so this is Law from CWDA. We're actually working with 8 counties, and we have an initial kickoff meeting tomorrow. We're coordinating this closely with our state partners to really develop a strategic approach on this and identified 8 of the counties, and we'll work with them to identify further best practices in terms of essentially many of the questions that you've asked, and actually do a live follow-through with implementation of CANs in those 8 particular counties, and bring in some of the closer TAs and whatnot in order to be able to do that. So that's going to kick off tomorrow as part of the discussion, and we'll also link it to the TA calls in terms of what we find and so on and so forth. It's also a little bit of data collection amongst the 8 counties to be able to really dive into how CANs is being implemented, as mentioned earlier, any best practices, any challenges, any other types of challenges that we're seeing, et cetera.
Okay, thank you, Locke. Okay, looks like we're at 3 o'clock, so I want to end the call with letting everyone know that our CANS CFT, or actually our CFT website went live. There's a CANS page within the CFT website, a lot of great information. It's going to be continually updated. We have links to our RTAs. Training will be posted on there, short training videos, and other resources. Housing on the Spot. We'll be sending the link out to all webinar participants following this call today. So thank you, everyone, for your participation, and we will talk to you again. Our next call is scheduled for November 28th from 2 to 3 p.m.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. See you in a few weeks.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.